Good day and welcome back to another DBZ Dokkan Battle video. In this video we're going to be taking a look at the top 10 Easy Aid TURs in Dokkan, at least in the global version, as at the end of the anniversary. So kind of like a mid-year review. I usually do yearly tier lists, so I'm just going to do like a mid-year tier list, or somewhat mid-year tier list after the anniversary. And yeah, basically just discuss which ones I think are the best. So obviously every single TUR is here, but I kind of want to touch on why I haven't chose some of the Easy Aid ones. So for example, Goku Black, just outdated. Broly Stacker, outdated. Tech SS3 Broly, good damage, outdated. Great support for nuking events, but outdated. Needs to be there. Then we have, outdated. Well, sorry, not Easy Aid. Outdated. Solid damage dealer, still a very solid unit, just maybe not on the same level as these guys. Same kind of goes for Tech Frieza. Same kind of goes for Goku as well, who's over here. And same for Super Saiyan Goku, who's also really solid. SS4 Gogeta, a little bit limited in terms of link set, unfortunately, which is why I don't have him in the top 10. He's just a little bit kind of link set, availability of categories and things like that. But yeah, he's still a good unit. Then we also have the Kid Goku, similar kind of story, just a little bit too limited, and maybe isn't at the same peak. We then have some really good units here in the form of SS4 Goku. Super Saiyan Goku is very solid. Again, needs a little bit of catering to, not really his fault that he fell out, but it's still a good unit. The Friezas, honorable mentions to both of them, the AGL Golden Frieza and the Tech Golden Frieza, because both of them are very exceptional tanks. Omega Shenron suffers the same issue that SS4 Gogeta suffers. MUI Goku is a very good unit, but he takes a little bit too long to stack, although his transformation is still very useful and very good. Then we have Gohan, who's also a really solid unit, great defensively. He's kind of gone off the boil a little bit. He's like a little touch behind the curve needed, but still pretty good. And yeah, that kind of covers most of them. There's plenty of great Easy A units, and this isn't to say that any of these units are not great. All of these units are great in their own right. They're exceptional. It's just that they're not the top 10 in the game, at least from my opinion. Now, if you disagree, that's fine. You are wrong. No, you're welcome to disagree. Most people will disagree with me. I think overall, it's good to have opinions. And this kind of is just top 10 in general, encompassing things like leader skill, how strong is that team that they can build around them, how strong are they as a unit, do they need to be catered to. So for example, if a unit doesn't need to be catered to, has a strong leader skill and performs well regardless of where they're placed in the rotation, generally speaking that unit's going to do better than a unit that needs the support, needs a specific linking partner, etc. So let's kick it off and let's talk about my favorite and probably the top one in the game for me still. And yeah, it's between these two, but I think Gogeta still wins out for me. Two reasons why. Quite simply, he's just easier to use. Goku does huge damage. Goku can do like 17, 18 million, 20 million attack stats, and Gogeta kind of tops out at around the 11, 12 million mark, yes, which is still crazy. Gogeta does have guaranteed crits though, which is very helpful. He's got 70% evasion, he has like 500k defense, but more importantly, he just fits on better teams. He's a fusion, he's movie heroes, he leads fusion, he leads movie heroes, he links great with strength a la Gogeta, he links great with tech a la Vegito. He's just got more about him, to be honest. It's just more that he fits in a bit better all around. Goku honestly is like that kind of unit where it's like, this guy can look better than LR units. He can look better than some of the top units in the game when everything works for him. And that's not to say that that's a bad thing, that's awesome, and I think that's his whole shtick. But the thing is that it is, it is kind of like limiting to a certain extent, because ultimately at the end of the day, unfortunately, Goku is in the situation where he does not necessarily have the correct team around him at this point in time. He could definitely still get the right kind of team around him 100%. It's not that he's never going to have a good team. It's just that he doesn't have it right now. But still very, very good. In third place, it's a bit difficult. Things start to get way... I think there's a relatively big drop-off between these two. I think then I'm looking at possibly one of these four. Now, for me, personally speaking, I think I have to go with Cooler. And a lot of people might say, well, Super Buu, the Buccalo transformation is so tanky and so good at supporting, and Piccolo has the ability to force these super attacks. That's great. But having 2 strength coolers enables you to run an extreme team. Or even having 1. Just having strength cooler makes your ability to run an extreme team in hard content, even at 55%, because my cooler's at 55%, it actually makes it possible. So on that merit alone, he has to be there. For me, he has to be there. Next, we're talking between Piccolo, Super Buu. I think Broly's really good, but his defense is a tiny tad bit limited, at least comparative to some of the other units on this list. So you can tend to feel like maybe he's not as good, and the fact that Piccolo can see super attacks is very big. Seeing super attacks, for those who don't know, is kind of like it's like the creme de la creme of abilities. It's like the absolute best ability you can have in the game, pretty much. So any unit that has it is kind of automatically bumped near the top of lists. So I'd probably say next is Piccolo, then probably like this. See, because Super Buu is really good, and Super Buu getting an AGL Buu really helps him out as a unit. It's not like he has to run on a Martian Buu team. You gotta understand it's not necessary, but their link set definitely does benefit from having other Martian Buu characters on their team. It's like you don't need it, but it definitely takes him from being a, whoa, that's a pretty good unit, to like a, damn, that's a real good unit. You know what I mean? Broly, not as good as Gogeta. I think what Broly suffers from is the fact that he's crying out for a good first slot tank Broly. We just need one Broly that's just super tanky in the first slot. Give him guard, give him damage reduction. Don't give him damage, just let him be a tank. Whatever it is, if it's Bio Broly, it's Bio Broly, whatever Broly it is, just make a Broly tanky. One tanky Broly, and literally every single Broly in the game will look immediately better. And that's his only issue. Outside of that, we then come to kind of the rest. And I don't want to say the rest like they're not good. But these units definitely feel either more limited or feel like they're lacking to kind of be at this level. Now, Turles and Rose kind of feel the same to me. MVP 17 feels pretty good, kind of the same as Gohan. Maybe Gohan's a bit worse, maybe Gohan's a bit better. We'll discuss it now. Bardock, I feel, belongs here. Tech Vegito is kind of an honorable mention. So is Metal Cooler, and then we also have Full Power Goku. So let's kind of talk about this a little bit, because this section is where things get not so black and white. I don't think there's a clear-cut divide between these units. So an example is, MVP 17 gives 70% defense, Gohan gives 50% defense. 17 has high levels of damage reduction when he's below a certain health threshold. Gohan has the ability to have guard. Both of them are very, very good supports. Gohan is a great support for Hybrid Saiyans-based teams. Android 17 is a great support for USS teams. He struggles a tiny bit on Android teams, just due to the fact that Android teams are very very cell-centric at the moment, and he's not necessarily a unit that kind of vibes with that. However, he is incredibly good, and being a super unit, being on USS, which is still a weak category, being on superheroes as well. Being on worthy rivals means that he definitely has a place. Gohan, I think, via metrics is also very good, but he definitely needs dupes. I have him at 55%, and if he doesn't get his guard, he just doesn't really feel impactful. Then we have Turles and Rose, who only suffer via the fact that they're on extreme teams. So Turles is great, but his passive triggers when he's facing a superclass enemy, and they just don't exist in the game in hard content, which is a problem. And then you have Rose, who essentially just exists as this excellent foil for the tech Rosemasu, who's a very, very good unit. Then we have the full power Goku, who's a very, very solid unit. Has the ability to force these super attacks. He's a bit finicky because of health, which is why I'm loath to kind of put him in the top 10. Like on his day, he's really good, and then there's times where he can be really bad. So, well, not bad, I mean, he can be a bit inconsistent. So it is difficult to kind of sit and endorse him being, super duper dope, but he is still a good unit, regardless of consistency. Like even at his worst, he's still pretty good. So I kind of want to stick him there, although I think he can maybe go here. Tech Vegito, maybe Metal Cooler. See, Metal Cooler is really good, but again suffers from a similar fate as, for example, the Turles and just all of these units really. They just, don't have teams that facilitate them, because they exist in this realm where extreme teams are just not as catered to as super teams. So unfortunately they are units that struggle a little bit, which is a shame, but it is also what it is. So in terms of maybe like especially this Cooler, I find him to be really, really good. His raw defense can sometimes be a little bit low, but honestly speaking, he's just really, really good. He does good damage. You could probably say that Goku's a bit better off just due to availability of teams. SS3 Bardock's also in there with a shout at being a very good unit. Tech Vegito stacks really nicely. It's just a little bit slow and inconsistent. He has to be a second slot unit. Not that that's terrible, but it is just a thing. And then Super 17, who is just here through the sheer fact that he has stayed relevant for years. The way his passive works, the way he can tank damage. Every time they buff GT bosses or bring out a new 17, he's basically the first point of call, and he just excels. Overall, that's kind of my thoughts. Let me know what you guys think, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Till then, bye.